the way we do it anyway.
Okay, hey y'all. This is Peaches from Peaches and Dream Podcast. I'm going live on all platforms, on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on my YouTube. They have the verdict any minute now, so that's what we're waiting on. I don't know if Anita has time to jump on. I did tell her and I sent her the link, so oh, you know what? I can share the link on Facebook. See if anybody else wants to hop on.
We need to make sure that training's done properly and that we have, people who have the abilities to do what they're doing it.
Mike, I want to ask you about this jury and try and put yourself as our legal analyst in the eyes of this jury. They had those three charges.
Just a moment.
They have to consider all three when they make their decision on something like this. You watched this trial unfold. You watched the key points of this trial. You saw the defense's objective and their game plan, as well as the state's objectives and game plan. If you're a jury sitting there yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what was the first thing that sort of is the bellwether moment in that trial for a juror?
Well, there were a couple things that I think you could point to. As a group, we know that there were a group that tended to not get into the news or not follow the news on what was happening in this case anyway, because they wouldn't be on the jury if they were deep into it. Second is, we know when they were brought back on that Monday, and a group of them came back and they said they heard something and they turned it off right away. So as a group, they stayed away from everything, or as much as they could on this case. And then suddenly, boom, they got weeks of the videos over and over again, and the experts over and over again, and people talking over again. They got a lot for people that originally turned away from it, a lot of information along those lines. For me, big points that came up in the trial were when we saw George Floyd inside Cup Foods. We got to see him alive. You don't normally experience that. You get a chance to see somebody who the case is involving a dead person, but you get to see a bunch about him when he's alive that just is minutes before he dies. The point when they heard the defendant talk to Mr. Williams on that tape, that was an opportunity for them to hear him at the scene right after it's happened and make some determinations on what that felt.
Hey.
What effect it had on...
Oh, hey.
Girl, I shared the link on Facebook just in case anybody else wanted to hop on. It's a free-for-all now.
All right, so what did I miss, guys? What did I miss? Are you live?
Oh, shit, the judge is sitting down.
Okay,
I'm live.
okay.
I'm live. Hold on, girl. Let me turn it up. Oh shit! Here it is. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear.
Fuck, girl. This is some nail biting O.J. Simpson type shit.
Girl,
I was just in time.
All right, please be seated.
all right, let's see what's going down today. Let's see if we finally going some justice up in this motherfucking country. Excuse my French, but okay.
Girl.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court file number 27, CR6. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
What? We finally got some motherfucking justice. Okay.
Juror number 19.
Look at his
Same
face.
caption, verdict, count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This
Yes!
agreed to this 20th,
Yes!
2021 at 1:45 p.m. signed by jury foreperson.
Look at
jury
his
number
face.
19.
Look at his fucking
Same caption,
face.
verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter at count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to
Thank
the 20th
you.
day of April
Thank
2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your... Juror number 19, are these
Yes.
your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They found that cop guilty.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and
They
correct
found that
verdicts?
cop guilty.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
They got the military all in that
So
damn
say you want,
city.
so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will
Oh,
be
I
filed
got some.
accordingly.
My laundry is downstairs.
I have to thank
and
you
there
on
are 4
behalf
jars
of
of
the
juice
people
in
of the
the
state of
front seat
Minnesota
also.
for not only jury
Need
service,
to get.
but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions and to advise you further. So, all rise for the
All you gotta
jury.
do is just bring it upstairs.
I'm not willing to go back downstairs to go pick something up. That's what's bad to Edwin because he'll be here.
Yo, so this guy is guilty as
Guilty on all
charged.
charges.
All the charges. That's crazy.
Oh,
I mean, it's amazing, but it's like,
Right.
damn.
The sentence.
With
Let
the
me
guilty
look.
verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a
But you know his
written
lawyers are
argument
gonna
as to
file an
Blakely factors
appeal.
within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings.
Being guilty
1 week after that,
two different things.
we'll order a PSI immediately.
Yeah, but he's guilty on all
returnable in 4
charges, so
weeks.
yeah.
That's crazy. I never, you know, I've seen
Also
situations where they
have,
was guilty on
briefing
some charges and
on
not
after
guilty on
the
other charges.
PSI.
But for him to be guilty
6
on
weeks
all
from now,
charges, I'm
and
like,
then
yeah.
8 weeks from now, we will have
We
sentencing.
finally got
We'll get you the
justice
exact dates. In a
for
schedule.
one of many situations.
Actually, on behalf of the
Yeah.
Move to have the court.
But hey, you know, white supremacists, they were gearing up also. The white militias,
and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the
Antifa, all them
Anything
motherfuckers. Just in
Time.
case he
Thank you.
was found guilty. You know they're gonna be out on the street wreaking havoc on black folks, especially in that city. Oh, they took him out. They took him out the courtroom. Look at that. Look at that. I'm glad we caught this shit live.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank God for StreamYard. And my
And with
MacBook.
that, Derek Chauvin remanded to the custody.
Yeah. This is on YouTube now too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm
All
streaming
three
it from
counts,
YouTube.
Second-degree murder, guilty. Third-degree murder, guilty. Second-degree manslaughter, also guilty. We showed you it live. It came down about 4:07. We also are showing you now what happened when those guilty verdicts were read. The crowds at the Hennepin County Government Center, at 38th in Chicago, all elated with those verdicts. As you can imagine, this is the anticipation of all of this.
Girl,
has
didn't
been
I
in the
tell you to
minds of
watch out on
Minnesotans,
420 for some
the
shit to
nation.
go down?
You know that's yo. I swear to God, that is so crazy. I swear to God, your ass did say that, and I'm glad we be live, so nobody can say we edited our shit. But you did say watch 420.
What
And
the
look at
fuck did I
motherfucking
say?
420. Oh,
Uh-huh.
Testimony both from the state and from the defense, trying to prove the state that
Them Virgos be knowing. Them Virgos be knowing.
those Virgos be knowing for real, for real.
George Floyd's death was the result of George Floyd's health contributed by drugs in his system. This jury, a 14-member jury, decided guilty on all charges.
This is a historic
wow.
moment. You saw the crowd's reaction there in the boxes as this verdict was read. We have Lee Hutton on standby
This
with
is
his reaction.
so.
Lee, you and I have been covering this from the beginning. I need to gauge your reaction.
I hate to say it.
That is awesome. Like we finally, once and for all, got some type of justice and something that was really, really fucked up that everybody knew, but the government and the legal system somehow justified how
a situation
fuckers
with
was able
excessive
to walk
force
as if not
be
guilty. Not even
recognized
fucking
as
George
not
Zimmerman.
okay.
Like, yo,
This goes a
and he
long
wasn't even a
way
goddamn
for
officer. But
individuals,
anyways, we got
especially
one.
people of color,
Finally, right?
that their voices are
His
heard,
face.
that they
I'm
are
glad we caught that girl, that
conscious
look
in
on
the
his
eyes of the law,
face.
and that factors of carbon monoxide and enlarged heart are not important enough to disregard the actions of an individual with just kind of a small heart, as Jerry Blackwell put it. I'm kind of numb. I'm kind of in shock. Everybody knows I'm a Southerner coming up from Minnesota, very similar to George Floyd, to get away from what we believe as still the gallant South. And to come to Minnesota and to have some of those same issues follow us is hard to digest. But with this verdict, I think it's going to set the tone that people are going to act differently and act better. So we can only wish that we learn from.
Exactly. They should have been known that this is what we've been needed. Then they would have thought twice before fucking putting their necks on people. I mean, necks. They knees on people necks.
What do we
Uh-huh.
expect to see as far as
Oh my God.
they do sentencing?
I'm
in
I'm
about
trying to
2 weeks? And
see.
at that sentencing hearing,
Okay.
we get to hear a victim impact statement and perhaps a statement from Mr. Chauvin as well.
That's right, and there's still a lot to accomplish in this time period. You heard the judge referred to a PSI. That's where somebody will come to Derek Chauvin and ask him a couple of questions to determine whether or not there's any remorse, to determine his kind of state of mind, and that will be in a report that both parties will get to see. And based on that report, the individual taking that PSI assessment will give at least an idea on whether or not either certain penalties should be enhanced or not. So it'll be interesting to see what that PSI report says. But with this, we still have a long way to go. The judge will be the person who decides the sentencing, and we'll see motions by the state for an upward departure, meaning they're asking for the high end of the box, and we'll anticipate the defense asking for a downward departure, basically something lower in the box.
Lee, I don't want to interrupt you. We just want to take a moment here and take you out into the streets of Minneapolis and just listen to some of the sounds and the sights that we're seeing right now.
Oh yeah, look at what's going on.
Say both names. We want to say Dante right. We want to say George Floyd. That sounds good. Say his name. Dante Wright. 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 We're gonna take again, like I said, we're gonna take justice hostage. All right? We put pressure on their ass to charge him. We didn't put pressure like as a community, being down here, boots on the ground, putting pressure on our government. He would probably got found not guilty. So we're not done yet. The battle's not over. All right, we still got it. More bodies, we still fight for it. It's a lot of stolen lives that the state of Minnesota has taken from us. So we're going to head to that Brooklyn Center police station. Make sure y'all ask every single day.
Grab the stick out of my backpack and you can start grabbing some sound.
Did you hear them? They wanted you to.
All right, you're looking at some live pictures from across the city. Up in the top left, that is an aerial picture of the government center. And then the box on the top right, 38th in Chicago. and bottom left, 38th in Chicago, and then I believe on the bottom right, outside the government center as well. The crowd's reacting to this verdict that came down at 4:05, and in just a few short moments, that verdict.
Yo,
What if it
405,
came
that
down
is
on 420?
crazy. Nah, but here is the funny part. They said, oh yeah, 405. That's my
Let me turn this down
daughter's
real quick.
birthday.
Huh?
My daughter's birthday is April 5th. So when they said 405, I'm like,
wow.
what? That's crazy.
Listening to the judge in the courtroom, you could see the cheers and the response from the crowd. All right, we want to bring Paul Bloom in, who has covered every minute of this trial. And so, Paul, tell us just what you're seeing right now from your vantage point.
Well, a couple of things.
I made the live private, so you can go ahead and share it if you want to. As if you want to. Oh, wow.
From where I am, 5 floors up above the ground below. A large scene, as you guys are showing on the ground, well, it's maybe still be 38th in Chicago, but a large demonstration, hooting and hollering as soon as those first verdicts
hooting and
were
hollering.
read. I have noticed some of the group has splintered off and is now blocking traffic along 3rd Avenue below. So they have blocked what is an open avenue, in essence, alongside the government center and City Hall. A lot of horn honking, a lot of hooting, a lot of hollering. Obviously, a lot
Why
of
you keep saying
celebrating.
It's hilarious.
A lot of hooting, a lot of hollering.
To get justice in this case.
You know they gotta hype it up.
A lot of
A lot of pull up in that. Shower. More fire.
Okay.
Floyd was
Oh
in
my God.
we're going to hear from the Floyds shortly. Their attorney does have the Floyd family ready to go in a news conference shortly, so we'll hear directly from them. But Philonise Floyd sitting with his elbows on an armrest, hands clasped in front, looking downward, not clear if he's praying, weary, or what. Cahill reads the last verdict. Chauvin gives no resistance as a deputy handcuffs him and escorts him to a side room. Philonise Floyd hugs Jerry Blackwell, Keith Ellison, and the other prosecutor. Ellison and Blackwell heartily shake hands. It did appear Philonise perhaps.
Did they have to make that decision today? Like it was pre-planned, or it was just
no? Girl, let me turn this down because I was
like,
listening.
You definitely said some shit was going down on 4:20. I'm
Didn't
like,
I predict this shit? Okay, so when you mention were they supposed to have it in, I was listening because I was in my car on my way home and I had no idea. Well, I was at the laundromat, girl. This was a couple of hours ago. I was at the laundromat and I was like, okay, so they waiting on the verdict. I'm thinking they were going to take some days because CNN people, they were saying that in the 30 years ago this year, it was the Rodney King case.
On this day?
No, not this day. It's
just
this
30
year.
years ago. Okay.
Yeah. So in that
90.
case,
1990? Wait,
yeah,
1991. 1991. Okay.
So in that case, the jury took a week. And it was another case. What case were they talking about? The Botham Jean, that little white girl who ran up in his house and shot him when she was a cop. She was a cop. They took like 5 days to deliberate, so they thought the jury was going to take longer. And that's why they had the military and everything down there, because a lot of people, just because I listen to bloggers and just people just thought that they already knew the verdict, and they thought the verdict was going to be innocent. They thought they were going to acquit him. So that's why they felt like that's why they had all those military people in DC and Minneapolis and Philadelphia, and people boarded up their businesses. And so, yeah, girl. So no, they are not supposed to have like a set amount of time, but they predicted that they would have like some days to a week to deliberate. but it took them 14 hours, 13, 14 hours, not even in total. They deliberated yesterday and today. What's he saying?
Applause. Started yelling, shouting, crying. Lots of people hugging. We've seen cars coming by, laying on their horns. So just a lot of excitement here after the verdict read.
Babs, you had interviewed Charles McMillan. He was the 61-year-old man who stopped and tried to talk to George Floyd as he was being taken into custody. And can you describe, since you had a chance to talk to him in person, the emotional toll that it's taken on him to be a witness in this case and also to wait for a verdict?
It's been really emotional. Actually, just before the verdict was read, I was on the phone with his son. He is still in Minnesota, and they were watching it. I talked with him. He said that, a verdict coming back so quickly was a sign that it could be good news for them. At the same time, they didn't know what to expect. So I know they were both at home watching closely to see what would happen with the verdict. And I'm sure wherever they are now, they're happy. We're hoping to talk with them later this afternoon and see how he's doing.
Babs, as you take in all this out there, and I know there's a lot, and
who they plan to talk to?
Now, you mentioned elation.
His son. I had no idea he has a son.
Prevalent there at George Floyd Square, which it's known by many as now 38th in Chicago. The sense for what happens next there at that site is what?
Well, I've heard people saying that this isn't enough. I heard the name Dante Wright, obviously the unarmed 20-year-old black man who was recently shot and killed in Brooklyn Center. So they're saying this is not enough, but this is a starting point for them. And they are
I mean, as much as they could come and say this is not enough, I feel like it's a start, and we have to be appreciative. Like we really have to, because they could have did what they've been doing, So we can't even sit there and be,
I don't know if you can see this, but they're literally throwing money in the air. They are just
they throwing money in the air. Is that what they said? I'm about to go down there.
Let me turn it back up.
Oh, they are throwing money in the air. Girl,
who they throwing cash in the niggas.
Yo.
Oh, niggas.
When he said throwing money in
Look
the
at
air,
this guy's face.
They dead ass is throwing money. And hold on, let me get on the next motherfucking plane to Minnesota.
Ready to address the public, and Alona said his brother as well. But again,
they throwing
you're
money.
The crowds that have gathered, we expect them to continue to build as the night goes on. Very celebratory situation though going on right now. And Babs, I was starting to ask you if folks are wanting to go down there, if they haven't been to this area before, what kind of access will they have?
Throwing cash.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yo,
I hope it's not fake bills. Them niggas will riot.
Let's take you again. You have somebody there.
This is becoming an emotional situation.
That's weird to me that somebody would really be throwing quote unquote money. They're probably really
look at the black man. Look
and shit. You don't realize that. But they chilling though. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of y'all. We ain't no proud boy, but y'all making me proud.
Doing as he says, really throwing the money right where George Floyd's body lay. Money's everywhere.
So he don't want them throwing the money there?
I think the concept there is to reward the community who has been there behind that site since May 25th. There's been a lot of discussion about what George Floyd Square or 38th in Chicago should become in the future, how it should serve that community, how it should serve the entire community of Minnesota. And my presumption is based on what I can hear.
It's crazy because I think they're so smart now, and I'm so proud of them.
But you see
how they're throwing money? Like a lot of the times, black people would have been running for that shit,
Chicago, it's people.
But they chilling. You recognize that, right?
All right, Minnie Hicks is also at 38th.
Oh, that's real money.
You have been with people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I said it. I'm proud of them. They're chilling. They're not acting a damn fool trying to collect the little dollars.
A lot of tears here. And one of the lead organizers, we have Marsha here with her. Can you just really tell us your reaction when you heard that verdict?
I was really thrilled for the family of George Floyd, who, like the rest of the world, saw the video of their loved one being killed by the Minneapolis police. And so I'm gratified that they could get a measure of justice. As we stand here in solidarity looking for justice from the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota for 38th and Chicago. We can only hope that they continue to strive toward reaching number 24, which is the conviction of all 4 officers who were there on that tape and contributed to the death of George Floyd. And until then, no justice, no street.
A lot of you are saying here today, you know, that it's so much bigger than this verdict. What is next for you all? What do you all want to see happen next, even after, you know, the other 3 go to trial?
What we want to see is the city become a beacon to the entire country of what it looks like when they cooperate with the citizens in order to ideate a world beyond traditional policing, where we are not terrorized on our own streets, where we are afforded opportunity and not get overpromised and underdelivered and overpoliced and overcriminalized, where we get a measure of liberty and freedom and justice that other people in the state.
Okay, so what was I gonna look at? The key moment. Did you keep up with the trial?
I wasn't keeping up with it. I was interested in seeing what the verdict would have been, and I'm amazed because I feel like they really, this time around, they tried to do something differently.
Hold on, I'm about to go over the trial in just a moment. Let me put my thing up.
I'm so mad. The whole time not even the whole time, but since for a few minutes, I've been trying to upload this video with the verdict to our Instagram, and it's sending for forever and a day. Like, don't act like that, Instagram.
Woo. Turn my fan on, girl. Okay, let me get situated. No, I'm not coming on camera. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what's this notification I have? Oh, never mind. Okay, so just key moments from the trial. Girl, have you heard about the slew of police officers who came out against Derek?
That's crazy. But no, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they were on the prosecution side, saying that it was unlawful and it was not a part of their training to put your knee on his neck like that. Let's see. Let's see. Cause of death. Okay, so cause of death, the chief medical examiner who ruled George Floyd's death a homicide was called to the stand by prosecutors only to disagree with their carefully built case that Floyd died of asphyxia when his airway was blocked by Chauvin's knee. Instead, the medical examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, said Floyd's heart gave out because of the pressure on his neck. Well, shit, isn't that the same thing? He said,
well, basically, his heart giving out is one thing, but then him losing oxygen and suffocating is something else. So that's 2 different causes of death. But what if your breath stopped and then your heart stopped? Like, I don't know. That's weird. But it basically, like, I guess that's how it would go. If you're being choked to death, you'll probably stop breathing before your heart stops. I mean, you definitely will stop breathing before your heart stops. Because even when you're not,
I know,
it makes.
I know they better get this lady off screen with this purple hair because she's the blues. Bitch, stop. Happy 420. Let me go. and get some more facts. Hold on just a moment. I'm changing the title of the live. Okay, we got some views on YouTube.
Hey guys, you see, we wasn't even tuned in to entertain our guests, and we and y'all ain't seeing no face today. You're gonna have to watch the other videos.
Okay.
But yes, I would honestly, I wasn't even like I was the only thing when it comes to these trials, the only thing I be waiting for is the verdict. I want to know what's the verdict. And it's just crazy to me how they try to justify and make it seem as if, oh yeah, my knee being in his neck wasn't the cause of death. But I promise you, if your knee was never in that man's neck to begin with, he probably would have still been alive. You know?
Exactly.
And it's crazy because in
Exactly.
law, their job is basically to prove that even if the person is guilty, is to make them look as if they're innocent. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I'm like, I honestly, I am amazed at the fact that we literally got some justice.
What did Floyd say on the clip? I don't want to read that because that man was calling from his mama as he was dying.
And you know what I did hear about the trial that was so damn petty that I did not appreciate at all?
What?
So basically, hold on, let me just make sure I'm saying this properly, because like when I think about it, I'm like, nah, these motherfuckers is crazy. But anywho, they were basically saying that he was arrested. George Floyd was arrested before, and the same thing happened when he called for his mama. You heard that?
No.
Yes, I heard that somewhere, and I was like, as a part of the trial. So they were basically trying to say like, oh, I gotta look it up so I can know what I'm talking about.
Let me turn it up.
Second-degree manslaughter, also guilty. We showed you it live. It came down about 4:07. We also... Nobody's gonna know.
Wait, hold on.
I don't know why I heard that somewhere. I read it somewhere. I can't find it. But I was like,
Whoa.
that's...
Oh, you put it on the Instagram.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering why I was getting notifications. I'm like, oh shit, did it connect to the Instagram too? Because that would be wonderful. Oh, I wish they would connect to Instagram. Shit. We have more views.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, so
that's what happened. It posted twice. I'm annoyed. Okay, let me delete this one. It was one that I was been trying to post, and it was giving me a hard time.
oh, is there another one? No, yeah, it did post twice.
Yeah, I'm deleting that second one. Don't because I know which one I'm gonna delete. Because one has 11 views, so I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, there we go. All right, so it is gone.
They're trying to say that his heart condition, his pre-existing heart condition, contributed to his death. So, are you trying to say that it wasn't the knee on his neck that killed him? Man, get the fuck
That's
out of here.
crazy. That's like me getting mad at somebody, and then I choke them, and then this person dies, and then I'm like, no, well, they had a bad heart already. Their lungs is like, how can they? That's the type of things that they try to use to justify how the person is not as guilty as they really are. But motherfucker, you're guilty because it's your actions that caused for this man to not be alive today. Period. It don't take a whole fucking justice system and jury. Like, it don't take all of this, but we got to go through it, right? It's common sense that lets us know what's right, what's wrong, what's evil, what's not evil. was racist. Like, come on. Like, who the fuck puts their neck in some... I mean, I keep saying it backwards. Who puts their knee in somebody's neck? At what point in your life do you do that to somebody?
Actually, that's my next point. An article from BBC says, was force justified? Another key issue at the heart of this trial has been whether Derek Chauvin violated policies on restraint when he kneeled on George Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes.
9 fucking minutes.
Mm-hmm. The head of Minneapolis Police Chief Madaria Arredondo was one of the prosecution's most high-profile witnesses and had fired Mr. Chauvin the day after the arrest. He told the court that the police officer should have stopped applying that level of force because, mind you, when somebody, I mean, I don't even have to be a cop to know this. When somebody is handcuffed and they're laying on the ground, what threat are they to you? The moment that George Floyd stopped resisting, it's not part of our training. This is the police chief. He says it's not part of our training, and it's certainly not part of our ethics or values to continue with such force, he said. Some 45 people gave evidence during the trial, including Dr. Martin Tobin. Oh, okay. Oh, and Courtney Ross. That was, the little white lady that he was dating when he passed. Defense witness Barry Broad, a use of force expert, said that Derek Chauvin, said that Derek Chauvin had been justified and acted with objective reasonableness because of the imminent threat Mr. Floyd posed in resisting arrest. So after he wasn't a threat, since you say he was a threat, he's still handcuffed, he's still laying on the ground, you have his face in the damn asphalt of the street. So he's still a threat.
And that's the thing. They'll sit there. I don't even understand. Like, he was never a threat to begin with. It's them fucking being like, I don't understand. Cause y'all sit there, you have guns, you have tasers, and all of this other shit. You choose to put your knee in somebody's neck for 9 minutes. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm like, when you really think about it, like, I've never, even like in a fist fight and, watching people fight in school, I ain't never seen nobody kneel on somebody's neck for fucking 9 minutes. I ain't never. Girl, I'm glad we got justice. I ain't even gonna hold you, because this was the first time in history, like, for real. At least that I could recall. Any updated footage?
Yeah. We're still live streaming.
What they talking? What is? Let's see what he's talking about.
Child going to buy a snack with her cousin. An off-duty firefighter on her way to a community garden. Brave young women, teenagers, who press record on their cell phones. Why did they stop? They didn't know George Floyd. They didn't know he had a beautiful family. They didn't know he had been a great athlete. And they didn't know he was a proud father.
But they knew that shit was fucked up. And hey, let's get this shit on camera.
They stopped and raised their voices. And they even challenged authority because they saw his humanity. They stopped and they raised their voices because they knew that what they were seeing was wrong. They didn't need to be medical professionals or experts in the use of force. They knew it was wrong. And they were right. These community members, this bouquet of humanity, did it again in this trial. They performed simple yet profound acts of courage. They told the truth, and they told the whole world the truth about what they saw. They were vindicated by the chief of police, by Minneapolis' longest serving police officer, and by many other police officers who stepped up and testified as to what they saw and to what they knew. What happened on that street was wrong. We owe it, and we owe our gratitude to fulfilling we owe them our gratitude for fulfilling their civic duty and for their courage in telling the truth. To countless people in Minnesota and across the United States who joined them in peacefully demanding justice for George Floyd, we say, all of us, thank you. In the coming days, more may seek to express themselves again through petition and demonstration. I urge everyone to honor the legacy of George Floyd by doing so calmly, legally, and peacefully. I urge everyone to continue the journey to transformation and justice. It's in your hands now. I also want to address the Floyd family, if I may. Over the last year, the family of George Floyd had to relive again and again the worst day of their lives when they lost their brother, their father, their friend. I'm profoundly grateful to them for giving us the time we needed to prosecute this case. They have shown the world what grace and class and courage really look like. Although a verdict alone cannot end their pain, I hope it's another step on the long path toward healing for them. There's no replacing your beloved Perry, or Floyd, as his friends called him, but he is the one who sparked a worldwide movement, and that's important. We owe our thanks to the men and women of the jury who gave many hours of their time and attention to carefully listening to the evidence, weighing the facts, rendering a verdict. They are regular people from all walks of life, a lot like that bouquet of humanity on that corner on May 25th and in that courtroom. They answered the call and they served in a landmark trial. They now deserve to return to their lives. If they ask you to respect their privacy, we ask you to honor that request. I want to acknowledge the remarkable team that helped us prosecute the case. We put everything we had into this prosecution. We presented the best case that we could, and the jury heard us, and we're grateful for that. We had the sole burden of proof in the case, and history shows that winning cases like these can be difficult. I'm proud of every hour, every minute, and every ounce of effort we put in this case. And let me tell you, we spent many hours working on this case, did we not? We, week after week, committee meeting after committee meeting, this team never let up and it never quit. We fought every day and we did it together. The Attorney General's office together with the Hennepin County Attorney's office. Thank you, sir. And we did it together. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who worked on the case. Most of these folks will tell you it's a bad idea to put together a team of all Michael Jordans. Nobody would want to pass the ball. This team, that was their true strength, is sharing the load, passing the ball, understanding that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone. And that worked. Although the verdict has been rendered, this is not the end. In the coming weeks, the court will determine sentencing, and later this summer, we expect to present another case. We will not be talking about that. This verdict reminds us how hard it is to make enduring change. And I just want to finish by sharing some important historical legacy, if you allow me. In 1968, the Kerner Commission was formed to investigate the causes of uprisings across major American cities. And a man named Dr. Kenneth Clark, a famous African-American psychologist who, along with his equally accomplished psychologist wife, Mamie, contributed to compelling research in the Brown versus Board of Education case. And Dr. Clark testified at the Kerner Commission. And I want to quote you what he said. I read that report, the one in the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was as if I were reading the report of investigating the committee of the Harlem riot in 1935, the report on investigating the Harlem riot in 1943, and the report of the McCone Commission on the Watts riot. I must say again in candor to you, the members of this commission, it's like a kind of an Alice in Wonderland with the same moving picture reshown over and over again, the same analysis, the same recommendation, and the same inaction. Those are the words of Dr. Clark in 1968. Here we are in 2020, 2021. Here we are in 2021, still addressing the same problem. Since Dr. Clark testified, we have seen Rodney King, Abner Louima, Oscar Grant, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, Stephon Clark.
What happened to the sound? You can still hear it?
Deadly force encounters
Your
with
mic
law
is muted.
enforcement. What all of us in that
So if
work
my mic was muted, I couldn't hear?
wanted is for everyone to go
I
home
can still
safe.
hear.
I
Anytime
can hear
something
now all of a
happens,
sudden. That's
everyone's
weird.
lives are changed forever.
Oh,
My
Now,
bad, y'all. Sorry for
use
the
this verdict
interruption.
as an inflection point.
No, like even right now, I'm not hearing nothing. That's weird.
Lives ruined.
for real?
Now I
We
hear it. Now I hear it. It's,
any
I
more
think
law
when you
enforcement
mute, are
ever
you
having to face
muting?
criminal charges.
I mute myself.
But it's
We don't
muting
want
that too.
communities torn apart.
Girl,
One way to prevent this
you see the volume
is
is
to
turned
get
up.
into a new relationship where we as a society
Mute it
re-examine
again. Let me
the use
see.
of force and our old settler.
Yes, ma'am. Every time you mute, it mutes him.
He said, enough is enough.
Oh,
And
okay,
another
because
way
I'm the
to
one
prevent
doing
it
the
is by
control. So
acknowledging
I
and
just
lifting
need
up
to keep mine
everyone's humanity,
unmuted.
helping
Okay.
communities heal and officers be well. Another way to prevent it is with accountability. Passing laws and instituting policies and training is important, but they must be more than words on paper, and there must be accountability for violating them. With this verdict, we have brought some accountability. Finally, this verdict demands us to never give up the hope that we can make enduring change. Generations of people said slavery would never end. Generations said Jim Crow would never end. Generations said women would never be equal to men. Generations said if you were different in any way, you could never be a full and equal member of our society. Today, we have to end this travesty of recurring, enduring deaths at the hands of law enforcement. Those beliefs are things we have to focus our attention on. And as I now do close, I just want to say to you, the work of our generation is to put unaccountable law enforcement behind us. It's time to transform the relationship between community and the people who are sworn to protect them from one that is mistrustful, suspicious, and in some cases terrifying, into one that is empathetic, compassionate, and affirming. That will benefit everyone, including police officers who deserve to serve in a profession that is honored, in departments where they don't have to worry about colleagues who don't follow the rules. Now that work is in your hands. The work of our generation is to put an end to the vestiges of Jim Crow and the centuries of trauma, and finally put an end to racism. We can end it. It doesn't have to be with us into the future if we decide now to have true liberty and justice for all. The work of our generation is to say goodbye to old practices that don't serve us anymore and to put them all behind us. One conviction, even one like this one can create a powerful new opening to shed old practices and reset relationships. So with that, I just want to say that I do hope that people step forward and understand that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. You can do something the way like everyday people like Donald Williams and Genevieve Hansen and Christopher Martin and Charles McMillan and all those teenagers and young people stepped up and did something. You can do things like help pass the George Floyd Justice and Accountability Act. It's in your hands. Let's get the work done. And now I'd like to invite my friend and partner in justice, Michael Freeman, Hennepin County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. First, I want once again to extend my heartfelt sympathies to the families of George Floyd. I hope today's verdict provides some measure of closure for them. And let me say what a tremendous job Attorney General Keith Ellison did in recruiting and organizing a talented team of prosecutors and supporting staff. Great job. Matt Frank, Jerry Blackwell, Steve Schlescher, and Aaron Eldridge were exceptional. Their use of experts, evidence, and witnesses left the jury no alternative but to find Mr. Chauvin guilty. We and the people of Minnesota should rightly be proud of these four and your entire staff of volunteers and assistant attorney generals and the jobs they did over the last 7 weeks. I'm also proud from the moment that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office charged Derek Chauvin with murder and manslaughter 4 days after George Floyd's murder, our team worked long hours side by side with the Attorney General's team. Managing Attorney Gene Burdorf did legal analysis and writing. Assistant Hennepin County Attorney Joshua Larson did witness prep and strategy development. And Vernona Boswell, manager of our Victim Services Division, has been in direct contact for nearly a year now with the family of George Floyd. Victim and witness advocate.
Speaking of the family of George Floyd,
Yes, Jessica Immerman and Keith Johnson.
Let me turn this down. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so speaking of the family, I was watching another live, and the guy, I was sitting in my car and I was on my way home, and he was watching the updates, and he was saying that because George Floyd's family took that money, it was a sign that Derek Chauvin was going to be found innocent, because it was just to soften the blow, to award the money to the family. Like, we know your loved one is dead. Take this money, shut the fuck up, and don't expect anything at the trial.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were saying that when these families get awarded money and they take the money, it's, I don't want to say, of course, it's a slap in the face, but it, like I said, it softens the blow, and it just makes it look like, it's okay to shoot our people as long as our families get paid. So that's what I was worried about at one point, because, George Floyd's family got what, $23 million as a payout from the city. So, yeah, girl.
I'm like, that's what I said. I'm like amazed. And like I said, they could have beat around the bush to try to charge him guilty on some charges and not other charges.
And then they kept comparing this case to the Botham Jean case. And, every time I think about that case, I just get a little pissed off, because what they didn't want was for him to be charged, for him to be found guilty of lesser charges, just like the Botham Jean, his killer was. I cannot remember that white bitch's name. They just didn't want him to be guilty of any lesser charges. So just like in the Botham Jean case, when that white girl was found guilty of the lesser charges, she had already got time served. And then, her lawyers went ahead and appealed that. So it's like, what do we do all this for? Because 10 years is not enough time for her to be in jail or prison, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what this white man is saying.
Thankful. I want to thank the jury for their service, doing what was right,
Oh, speaking of the jury, here's another fun fact. Hold on. Okay, so the jury consisted of 5 men, 7 women. There were 6 white people, 4 black, and 2 are multiracial. Huh.
Mm.
So had a total of 12 people. 2 other white women who had been selected as alternates in the case were dismissed by the judge prior to deliberations. Oh, so they sat through the whole trial and they were dismissed?
I wonder
The jury,
why.
exactly. The jury selection process began March 9th in Hennepin County Government Center and wrapped up March 23rd, exactly 2 weeks later. So
Okay.
George Floyd died on May 25th, so his death date is coming up. Let's see.
That's good. Took less than a year, even through
So,
COVID and everything. That wasn't bad because
so here's his sentence, that, just in case, if depends on what the judge wants to give him. If convicted, Chauvin could face up to 40 years in prison for second-degree murder, 25 years for third-degree murder, and up to 10 years for second-degree manslaughter. And he's been guilty on all of them. The charges are to be considered separate, so Chauvin can be convicted of all, some, or none. And he's been convicted of all. I like that. I like that.
and if they gave him the minimum of each sentence, that's 10 years for each charge. So he still have to do 30 years, or do he just do, is the years combined? Like, you get what I'm saying?
All charges are separate, so he's going to have to serve time for all of those
Yeah, but
parts.
say for example, he's charged for like one thing, and that charge he can get 10 to 20 years, and they decide to give him 15 years, and he has another charge where he can get 10 to 30 years, and then they decide to give him 10 years. At that point, do he just do 15 years because he's already doing, or does he do 15 plus 10? You understand?
That depends on the judge, how much
Oh,
time the judge wants to give him.
okay.
But I think they're going to do that next week also.
That's crazy.
Who was selected? Uh, oh, wow. The prospective jurors, before they picked all the jurors for the case, they completed a 16-page questionnaire that asked for their personal thoughts on Black Lives Matter, policing, and other topics. So they screened these jurors. Oh. In court, each person was sworn in and then questioned one by one in a process known as, girl, I can't pronounce that.
Spell it.
Voir dire. Okay, it's, let me put it in the chat. Pull it up on the screen. Oops, my bad. That right there. What the fuck is that?
Hold on. Voir dire. I don't know. I never heard of it. A voir dire. A voir dire. What is that, French?
Girl, it's so many law
Voir
terms
dire.
because like I mentioned before, I'm going to school for criminology. So each time I take a law class, like I have 2 this semester, it's
Is
always some shit.
voir dire a preliminary examination of a witness or a juror by a judge or counsel? Voir dire.
Okay.
Voir
Okay.
dire. That seems French, but yeah. But yeah, it says voir dire interrogation of the board members. So yeah, so then it's basically an interrogation.
Huh.
But
Of the
honestly, they do that at, I don't know if you've ever done jury duty before. I don't know if they called it that per se, but even when I was called for jury duty, they called me to the stand. Girl, they didn't call me to the stand, but basically we was at the stand because it was the guy who was, I think what he was he was the attorney for the state, right? Because it was this guy. I can't even talk details, but anyways, because I'm not supposed to talk about what happened. But they sat me down and they asked me questions, basically trying to see where my mind was. And then he was like, how would you feel about, somebody committing this crime? And I'm like, well, I said, well, that crime, it depends on, the actual sentence. And I said, because when you look at the laws, you got people that's out there that's selling drugs that's getting more time than somebody that actually murdered somebody. So when I said stuff like that, they was like, we're gonna ask Miss Patrick to be dismissed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I wanted anyway, because I didn't want to, but that's how I really truly feel. Because I'm like, how you, like honestly, I really feel like there's something wrong with the legal system, because if you have anybody that's in jail for selling drugs that's getting that's getting more time than someone who murdered or raped somebody, then the justice system is really messed up. And they know it. Anyway, yeah. But
Yeah,
that they
of
do sit
course.
you on the stand and basically interrogate you to basically try to figure out if they feel like you're a good candidate for their juror. So that basically showed me that they basically choose the jurors who they want, and it was the defense attorney.
Plus, they don't want another OJ happening with somebody from the jury communicating with OJ at the end of the trial. Because when OJ was acquitted, a black guy that was on the jury held his hand up in a fist, like, keep hope alive.
Mm.
And that was not supposed to happen in fucking court, but that
It's really not, but you listen, we really got to keep in mind the fact that we definitely live in a world where you have some neighborhoods where you got gang members that's doing fucked up shit, like looking at the little girls and shit, like teenagers, and because the people within the community, because I say this because it happens a lot in Jamaica. Like in Jamaica, they'll have dons, and then once the girls start getting their little ass and their little titties, like they could basically make one of the little quote unquote gangsters, bring the girl to the man. And people in the neighborhood and community, they know, but they're so scared to speak because they scared of getting murdered and stuff. So I think that happens like often, like in different situations. So,
of course, yeah.
but yep, it's like it's always somebody, like, as much as they know is wrong, for some reason there's okay. So with the OJ situation, because of his status, really, that's why a lot of people probably didn't want him to go to jail, because of pretty much who he was. You know. At least that's how I see it. Because I remember with that case, I think you're muted. What happened? I can't hear you. But basically, he was a football player. Oh, mine's is messed up.
convicted, less known convicted of a murder.
Oh,
This
first
is
time?
the first time in a long array of fights that we've seen 3 counts guilty in all 3.
I told you.
We don't find pleasure in this. We don't celebrate a man going to jail. We would have rather George be alive. Amen. But we celebrate that because young people, white and black, some castigated, many that are here tonight, marched and kept marching and kept going. Many of them looked down on, but they kept marching and wouldn't let this die. And this is an assurance to them that if we don't give up, that we can win some rounds. But the war and the fight is not over. Just 2 days from now, we're going to have to deal with the funeral of Dante Wright in this same county, the same area. We still have cases to fight.
Oh, he
but
goes
this
to his
gives us the
funeral.
energy to fight on. And we are determined that we're going to fight until we make federal law the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Must be law.
Okay.
We want to thank all that were involved, especially the Attorney General and the governor and others. We want to thank President Biden, who the first time he came out of his house during the campaign, he flew to Houston and met with the family and Attorney Crump and I. And he sat there, and I will never forget, he said to George's daughter that I heard you say your father is going to change the world. Well, we can now tell George's daughter she was right. Her father has begun the changing of the world for real. But before we do anything, we first want to pray and thank God. Because somehow God made a way. He had mercy. We believe in a God that can even get through the cracks in a jury room and bring conscience and bring truth. And that jury, we want to thank them for letting God give them the strength wherever they are tonight. We want them to know we broke down in tears when we heard the verdict. We had to hold each other and hug in tears because too many nights we've cried. Many of us for decades spent nights in jail. But today we can wipe our tears away and fight on for another day. There's sunlight. We're going to keep going till we bring it for the Eric Gardners and the Breonna Taylors, whose boyfriend is here tonight. Kenny Walker.
Okay, come on now.
Sean Bell. So many that did not get this night. This night is for them. Let us pray. Let's lock arms and pray like we can, folks. Where? Come on, Brandon. Where's Philomena? Come on. Yeah, come on. You and Rodney come up front. You know you're hiding now. Brother Chris, get next to the Attorney General there. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for giving us the strength to stand together. Sometimes we would question each other. Sometimes we say this is just going to be a waste of time. But somehow you touch us in the midnight hours and teach us to hold on. And that if we would be faithful over a few things, you'd give us the victory over many. We thank you because we know it was not any doing of ours, but your loving kindness and your tender mercy that made tonight possible. Bless those that worked, that made this prosecution something they couldn't deny. Bless those policemen that got on the stand and testified against another policeman. Bless the jury that listened to the evidence and didn't listen to those that may criticize them for doing this. Bless the prosecutor, Keith Ellison, and his staff that did their job, even though they didn't know what the outcome would be. Bless Ben Crump in a special way, that worked tirelessly, that jumped on planes and left his family to make sure that justice would rain down. Thank you for all of the civil and human rights leaders that stood up. And we thank you for the nameless grandmas and grandpas that would get on their knees and ask you to give us a victory this time. And Lord, as we give you the thanks and give you the praise, let George know that his name is going down in history. They may have put their knee on his neck, but he will now be a figure that we will take the knees off our necks now. And we give you the praise. Thank you. And God, we give you the glory. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Let me say that I want to bring on now a man who has symbolized the fight for justice. He didn't seek the role, but he rose to the occasion. America, for many years, didn't have someone to stand for us. The last 4 years, we didn't have an attorney general's office that would even hear our cry. But we had been raised to believe that God always has a ram in the bush. And God has a way of taking the most humble of people and raising them up. We had an attorney general in Black America that has represented these cases with the acumen and skill of one that was raised in the South, but came to claim this nation in a new direction. I bring you the Attorney General for Black America, Ben Crump.
All right, so that was Al Sharpton.
Thank you,
And now this
Reverend
guy,
Al
you know him?
Sharpton, not only for your mentorship, not only for being a great civil rights leader, but for being a moral authority, especially making sure no matter what happened, that we always maintained the moral high ground, knowing that we were on the right side of history as we fought for justice for George Perry Floyd Jr. Say his name. I am but a member of a great team of very talented attorneys. And I'm going to acknowledge them. Yeah, we got the Omegas and the Kappas, Reverend Jackson, and the Alphas in there.
Basically, Peaches, are those fraternities?
Great
It's fraternity.
lawyers
That's what I'm saying. Fraternities.
Members.
That's what it's called.
2 or 3 of the lawyers will
He was
address
like, we got
you.
the alphas.
And then at that time, we will hear from the family members before we take any of your questions. I want to acknowledge
Yeah, they got the family.
A great lawyer from Chicago, Illinois, one of the best I've ever had a chance to work
I'm
with.
surprised that was Al Sharpton.
I want to recognize my partner on the front line in this case, one of the best lawyers at Ben Onum. He hails from Atlanta, Georgia, Attorney Chris Stewart. His law partner, Attorney Justin Miller. Attorney Madeline Simmons. A great Minnesota lawyers. Attorney Jeff Storms. Raise your hand, Jeff. Attorney Michelle Godot. And who else we got here? Anybody else? We have Attorney Scott Masterson, who's not present. Attorney Babani. I said Michelle. We got Michelle. All right. And just a great group of lawyers. And I want to let you know who we have present here with the family here in Minneapolis for this historic day. We have George Floyd's brothers. We have Philonise Floyd. We have Rodney Floyd. We have Brandon Williams, who's George Floyd's nephew, but was more like a son to him. They call him Woo back in the Woo, 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 woo. We have Kim Philonise's wife. We have Terrence New York, where you at? We got Terrence Floyd,
sisters who are not with us, but we should absolutely acknowledge Bridget Floyd, who hails from North Carolina, his sisters Latanya and Jaja, who hail from Houston, Texas. We have his cousins, Sharita McGee, Tidra McGee, and Tara Brown. And we have the mother of his daughter, Gianni Floyd. We have Roxy Washington, and we have Gianna. And so I'll make some brief remarks, and then we're going to have Attorney Stewart. Oh, Angela, cousin Paris. Angela, cousin Paris, and Uncle Selwyn, Vince. All right. Any more Floyd family? I know it's a big crew. AD, the man he came to Minneapolis with, and Daryl. So I'll make some brief remarks, and then we're going to have Attorney Stewart and Attorney Ramanucci make some brief remarks, and then we're going to hear from this family, and we're going to try to leave here today knowing that America is a better country. America, let's pause for a moment to proclaim this historical moment, not just for the legacy of George Floyd, but for the legacy of America. The legacy of trying to make America for all Americans, so that George Floyd's victory and America's quest for equal justice under the law would be intertwined. America, let's frame this moment as a moment where we finally are getting close to living up to our Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equally, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that amongst them are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Where America, that means all of us. That means Black people. That means Hispanic people. That means Native people. That means Asian people. That means all of us, America. We frame this moment for all of us, not just for George Floyd. This is a victory for those who champion humanity over inhumanity, those who champion justice over injustice, those who champion morals over immorality. America, let's lean into this moment and let's make sure, Reverend Al, that this moment will be documented for our children yet unborn as they continue on the journey to justice, knowing that the blood of George Floyd will give them a trail to find a way to a better America, a more just America, where Breonna Taylor gets an opportunity to sleep in peace at night without the police busting in her front door. A more just America, where Ahmaud Arbery gets to run free and not be lynched for jogging while Black. A more just America, where Jacob Blake and Anthony McLean and Walter Scott and Laquan McDonald and all these other Black men, Terrence Crutcher, who was shot in the back while running away like Dante Wright was just a week ago, because for some reason, Black men running away from the police is more dangerous than young white men who commit mass murders and walk towards the police with an assault weapon, Reverend Bryant, like Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin. America, let this be the precedent.
Yes.
Let this be the precedent where we live up to the high ideals and the promises when we say liberty and justice for all. Those sun-kissed children are included in all. Those children who overcame slavery, the Middle Passage, the Dred Scott decision, Plessy v. Ferguson, Jim Crow, and his much smarter, wiser son, Jim Crow Jr. Esquire. Let this be the precedence where we overcome systematic racism and oppression, and that we are a better people, and we will leave our children a better world for us all. At this time, we will hear from a great lawyer, because nobody does this alone. It's always a team effort. And we have the lawyers, the preachers, the civil rights leaders, the education leaders, the activists. Let's give a big round of applause for the activists.
Yeah, that's right.
The people who stayed in the streets.
That's right.
The people who came nationally, but more importantly, the people who were here locally, who were standing up for George Floyd on 38th and Chicago Avenue, day in and day out. Still to the people who wouldn't go home, wouldn't stay quiet. Reverend Jackson, the people followed your example.
Don't forget about the witness. Donald Williams.
Donald Williams. Donald supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So, we love you, Donna. Without further ado, my brother, Attorney Chris
Damn,
Stewart.
how many people gonna speak? Shit.
And Tony, you coming up next?
I think we get the gist of, what the fuck, You still there, Stinky?
Yeah, girl.
But yeah.
I'm on the phone. My bad.
Girl, I done dozed the fuck off, but Derek Chauvin is guilty. Anybody can go back and watch the live stream because we got every fucking thing. We got on just in time right before the verdict was read, and we're rare something like that happens on YouTube if people just subscribe to our fucking channel. But anyway, any last thoughts before I go ahead and end this live and stick it up on YouTube?
Nope, that was all. That was it.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm happy for George Floyd's family and kids and everything, and we'll see what happens when Derek Chauvin is being sentenced.
Yep, and guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So we're either gonna be live again this week or maybe next week. But we got justice for once and for all.
All right, y'all be careful out there. They're gonna party and they get these military people in these cities. Be careful. But other than that, stay black, be blessed, and fuck the police, okay?
All right, peace out, y'all.
Bye.